to another video. Today we're going to be doing a tank setup video. I just recently purchased everything for the tank. It's going to be for my male beta that was in my 36-gallon bow front that I tried to breed with my female, and I think they did breed. Tree frog is speaking. Hush. Alright. So we're going to be moving him out of the guppy breeder that he's in for now, just to separate it. That I put him in there to separate him from the female. So I'm going to set the camera up and then film the process of me doing the tank. I'll speak a little bit on things that I think are important to be spoke on, and then other than that, I'm just going to build and then time lapse and have some music over it. But hopefully this is an informational video, because I haven't really had one where I've built it and shown how I built it and why I do the things I do and what I put into it to make it the way it is. So today we'll be able to do that a little bit more. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so had a little bit of an intermission there to work on some other tanks, and I also got some water in this bucket from a few of my other tanks to kind of jump start this one that I'm going to mix with the water from my sink. So just so the tank has already got some natural water flowing through it. I also put a new bubbler in this tank. I can show you exactly what it is. It's a paw fly aquarium pump, and it's for up to 40 gallons, but I mean it's only powering 2 5-gallon tanks. It's got an adjustable flow on it, and it's got 2 outlets for the air pump, so that should be able to run both of these pretty well and also really circulate the tank. So I mean, it'll be really rich with oxygen, to say the least. So anyways, what I'm going to do with this tank is I'm going to put a sand bottom on it. So we're going to we'll have like a black substrate on this side, a white substrate on this side, and then I'm taking plants from a few of my other tanks and putting them in this one to hopefully have, you know, a little bit of everything, but also plants that I like in there. So let's get started. So we're going to get started with the sand first. Always start with the substrate. Pretty dry. I probably should have sprayed it down or got it wet some, but we won't worry about that right now. So we'll just go ahead and put us a really nice layer on the bottom here. You know, we want a few inches so that the plants have room to grow, and also we can kind of skate with it, because right now I do not have any decor in this tank, so it is just going to be a sand and plant tank. And I think we might need just a little bit more than that in there. Yeah. We're going to put a little bit more in here. So what I'm going for right now, and something that I do in pretty much all of my fish tanks, is that I build up the substrate in the back and put a smaller, thinner layer in the front, so it's a little bit more swim room, and it just covers up less of the viewing area. So that's always my goal with that, but I want to make sure I get enough substrate in here so that when I do put the plants in and everything else, I'm not going back and trying to add more substrate, because it would just completely ruin and cloud the tank up. So we'll go ahead and just put some more in here. I'm going to use a pretty good amount in this tank. This is going to be for a beta. One of my male beta, I think I said it in the beginning of the video. So we're going to be adding him into this tank after it sits for probably, we're going to give it probably a week, maybe a little longer, until I feel like it's settled enough and cycled and the water and everything looks good, then I'll throw him in here and see how he does. But we're just going to give him a lot of swimming room, lots of things to swim through and lay on, because that's what bettas enjoy. And hopefully he'll thrive in here. It's looking pretty good for the sand. We might put a little more in here, possibly. We'll go ahead and get some more in there. Just a little bit. The other substrate I like to use is a shrimp. It's like advertised for shrimp. I can't remember the exact name of it right now. I'll drop the name of it in the video and possibly put a picture of the bag. But I use that substrate, which is in this tank, and I also use sand. Sand, I can't tell which one really works better right now. I think they both do great. It's just going to be your preference on the color of your tank. And some people like to even stack some of this substrate because it's got a lot of minerals in it underneath the sand. It doesn't matter to me, so I'm just kind of going with it. So now we're going to start putting water into the tank, just so that it's full when we put the plants in and everything, and we can kind of sift the sand, and we're going to try and put it in here without disturbing it too much. So we'll take one of these cups that I got my Betta in. Okay, so what I like to do, and what most people do to fill up their tanks, is they like to put a cup in there just so it doesn't stir up the substrate too much, and so you'll get like a pretty much clear tank from the start. So we're going to go ahead and run some of this water in here. Alright, so we got a little bit of water in there now. I think what we're going to do now is go ahead and grab the plants and bring them over here, and then I'm going to add a little bit more water. So, alright, so we're going to go ahead and pour some more water in here. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop this air stone in the tank. And like I said earlier in the video, this is one of the most important things that I've started introducing to every single one of my tanks, and I've realized that when I don't have an aerator, my tanks don't do nearly as well. So we're going to go ahead and get this out of there. No more need for it. I sift the sand towards the back some more. Kind of got moved around a little bit with the filling the tank up the way the cup was, but this should be good. We got a pretty nice layer going now. Sand is doing its thing, so we're going to leave that in there. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to add some plants. The plants I'm going to be adding are just going to be mostly plants that I think are going to look good in here, and I'm trying to have a nice contrast of colors. So we're going to start with this Rotala that I picked out of the 5-gallon. We're going to plant it kind of over here next to the bubbler because they seem to do better. Let me grab my tweezers real quick. We do not want this in there. Tiny leaf is no good. Go ahead and bury it kind of back there in the back. And then we might go ahead and put one more of these in there. Alright, this plant seems to grow pretty quickly, so we're going to kind of shove it in the back left corner and let it hopefully fill out this corner. And that's what we're hoping the Rotala does for the other side as well. We'll just kind of tap it down in there a little bit. And then we're going to plant some water sprite in this tank as well. And this also seems to grow pretty quick. So we're gonna take this one and kind of shove it up in the middle of the tank. So hopefully it will grow and kind of fill out the middle of the tank. We have a few more of these too to add in here. Okay. And this is for a beta, so we're going to also try and kind of find a bigger leaf plant out of one of the other tanks, because betas like to lay down on the leaves. So having bigger leaf plants in your tank is a good move with beta fish. Okay. Sand is really clumpy. It's kind of interesting. We're going to take this kind of, I think this is some type of fern. I'm not 100% sure on the exact name of the fern. I know it is a fern. So go ahead and put it in there. And then this plant I also grabbed from the big 36-gallon bow front, and it seems to grow well in there. So we're going to see how it does in this tank. Alright, so now we got just a nice little layout, and right now it looks kind of bare, but as those plants grow, and it should be about a week or two before they start growing, as they grow, the tank will just gradually start filling out, and it'll be nothing but plants, and then I'll just have to trim them the way I want them and hope that I don't get too much hair algae in this tank like I have in the others. So we're going to look for a bigger leaf plant to put in here. I think I might grab some Amazon sword out of this top tank. So we're just going to take the scissors and find a leaf that's closer to the front, like this one here, and we can trace it down the plant and try and snip it as low as possible. And then we're just going to kind of plant it in this tank and see if we can't get it to grow a little bit. So I really don't know if that'll work or not. I think it should, from the way I planted all my other tanks. Got another little fern here that we're gonna set down in the tank. Alright, so now we got plants on the bottom, and now all we need is a topwater plant. So let me go cut the stems off of one of the Anubias, and I'll bring it back and so we can set it in there. So this right here is the Anubias we're going to put in here. And we're just going to kind of try and find a good place for it on the back somewhere. And just let it float. Hopefully the roots will grow down. We're going to angle this more towards the back of the tank so that it gets a little bit more lighting from the front. This light is just kind of hard to deal with, I'm being completely honest, so it might just have to stay that way. So we'll take this, put it there. Alright, so that's going to be pretty much the scape for this tank, and it doesn't look like much right now, but you give it about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let everything kind of settle in, it'll start to take shape. Now we will see how this does. If I can find a snail, we will take some snails out of our other tanks and place them in this one so that we can kind of get this tank going a little bit with the natural stuff. They'll help clean it a lot. So take one of these babies too. Oop. Here's a big one. So we'll take this guy, get rid of that, throw him in this leaf in there, and that's it. So pretty much that is going to be the tank right there, and we just have one leaf planted. I've never done that before, so we'll see if that works, but that I know should grow. This fern right here is pretty well rooted in, the water sprite in the back, and then this plant right here, and then the rotala, which you can kind of see. So hoping to have a nice looking version similar to this tank, with the anubias growing out of the front, out of the top and everything, and then we have the snails that are floating around right now. So we're just gonna see how this does, and we'll update you in other videos on how this tank is doing, and whenever we add the beta, we'll also make a video on that. Alright, so that's going to do it for this one. That is pretty much the baseline on how I've set up most of my fish tanks. I have had a little bit better substrate to put in most of them to add some already, good minerals, but I just took water from this tank and a 36 gallon and used it to fill up pretty much half of this one. So hopefully that should be enough to kickstart it, and then with the aerator and all the plants. So we'll keep you guys updated. We'll make another video when we put the beta in, and I'll see you in the next one.